Everyone has dignity and value as a human being. Being different can't be the reason for discrimination. Understanding the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We have the right to be equal legally and politically.
Hello, I am a senior in high school. Today is a special day for me. It is the day that I go vote for the first time in my life. I'm aware of that there are the raised sidewalks and places only accessible by stairs on my way to the polling place. I hurried so that I won't be late. Although the polling place is far away, it's not a big deal for me. This is because I cannot give up my right to vote. It is my right and duty. However, when persons with disabilities have to go to places such as the polling place, police station, or court, I do hope that there would be more support on facilities and assistive devices that increase accessibility and convenience. That's why I am planning to vote for a candidate that pledges to expand facilities or assistive devices. Just thinking about casting my precious ballot into the ballot box makes me excited.
In this lecture, we will learn about Article 5, Equality and Non-discrimination, Article 12, Equal recognition before the law, Article 13, Access to justice, and Article 29, Participation in political and public life. Article 5, Equality and Non-discrimination. All human beings have equal values. Gender, age, religion, social status, occupation, and disability are no excuses for discrimination. For the persons with disabilities to not go through the unfairness or discrimination, the UN CRPD included the Article 5, Equality and Non-discrimination. Looking at this article closely, all persons are entitled, without any discrimination, to the equal protection and equal benefit of the law. All discrimination on the basis of disability shall be prohibited, and specific measures which are necessary to accelerate or achieve de facto equality of persons with disabilities shall not be considered as discrimination. This article ensures that deprivation of opportunity, physical and social barriers, and isolation and exclusion does not occur due to having a disability, and that persons with disabilities can exercise their rights on an equal basis with others.
I understand now. I have a question, though. In the article, it says that specific measures for persons with disabilities shall not be considered as discrimination. What does this mean?
First of all, the specific measures mentioned here are practical measures for the non-discrimination and realization of equality for persons with disabilities. Would reasonable accommodation or affirmative action towards persons with disabilities be reverse discrimination for persons without disabilities? The answer is no. As it provides a similar or equal environment around persons without disabilities to persons with disabilities, it does not practically mean measures that enhance the equality of all. Here are two students preparing for the college scholastic ability test. Among the two students, the male student has a low vision. What needs to be done for the two students to take the college scholastic ability test equally? It would be required to provide a large text paper and test time extension for the male student. In that way, the two students will be able to take the test equally in a similar condition. Now, shall we solve a quiz? Are specific measures to accelerate or achieve de facto equality of persons with disabilities discrimination? Yes or no? What is your answer? The answer is no. As long as it does not give excessive burden or imbalance to people or organizations that have to provide reasonable accommodation, affirmative action for persons with disabilities is required. Article 12. Equal recognition before the law.
Jill Stein, who was running as a candidate for the election, prepared a special voting guide 1 month prior to the U.S. presidential election. It was an easy voting guide consisting of large text, easy vocabulary, and easily understandable pictures, letting voters to understand everything about the election from voter registration to voting process. There was a reason that Jill Stein put large text and pictures by even reducing her own profile. It was to allow the persons with developmental disabilities to understand about the various candidates easily and exercise their right to vote. Similarly to the case of Jill Stein, Korea also published an easy voting guide for the persons with developmental disabilities during the past 19th presidential election. Providing appropriate accommodation to guarantee the legal rights of persons with disabilities, wouldn't it be the starting line for true equality?
A presidential candidate who came up with this idea so that all people can exercise their rights to vote. It definitely deserves high praise for what she has done regardless of the election result, right? Abiding by legal responsibilities and being entitled to equality before the law, these are the basic elements of life of human. However, there often have been cases that it is hard to exercise such rights to persons with disabilities. To prevent such cases, the Article 12 Equal Recognition Before the Law was created. If we look at the article, persons with disabilities have the right to recognition everywhere as persons before the law, and the state's parties shall take appropriate measures to provide access by persons with disabilities to the support they may require in exercising their legal capacity. Also, in relation with the exercise of legal capacity, in order to prevent abuse of all measures, it states that appropriate and effective safeguards must be provided in accordance with international human rights law. The safeguards being discussed here mean helping the person with disabilities make their own decisions for the fair exercise of legal capacity.
Oh, this was what safeguards were. Then, is the guardianship system included in the safeguards stated in this article?
No, the guardianship system is not included here. Since the guardianship system has the risk of abusing exercise of legal capacity against the will of the person with disabilities, and it may violate self-determination right, it was removed from the article. Acknowledging the rights before the law becomes the most important and basic foundations of various processes in the course of life, such as recognizing individual dignity, ensuring freedom and safety, marriage, labor, political participation, and voting. Therefore, in order to fulfill the rights of persons with disabilities, it is required to ensure their legal capacity as well. We hope that through the fulfillment of this article, the law can act as a fence that can reliably protect persons with disabilities. Here's a short quiz. There are times when assistance and support is required for persons with disabilities to be able to exercise their legal capacity. What would assistance and support mean in this case? A case that a third party makes a decision on behalf of a person with disability. B. A case of providing help so that a person with disability can independently make his or her own decision. What is your answer? The answer is B. The assistance and support provided by the type and level of disability should not violate a self-determination right of the person with disability. Article 13. Access to justice. Do you know the intermediary policy? It is a policy that can understand persons with disabilities well and can reflect it in the process of handling cases. But problems occur as it is sometimes not carried out properly. As an example, during the process of custody investigation of a person with an intellectual disability, although it was possible to carry out the investigation by additionally summoning a person in a trust relationship, police did not inform such right, and thus a person with a disability could not plead justifiably. This should not be happened. In order to ensure the right to access to all legal proceedings for persons with disabilities, the Article 13 Access to Justice was adopted. States parties shall ensure that in all legal proceedings, including investigation and preliminary stages, the provision of procedural and age-appropriate accommodations should be ensured to facilitate the effective role of persons with disabilities as direct and indirect participants. For this, appropriate training for those working in the field of administration of justice, such as police and prison staff, needs to be promoted. Recognizing equal legal rights and abilities of persons with disabilities, but violating access to justice is a mutual contradiction. Based on the Article 13, I wish we take this moment to think whether the provision of procedural and age-appropriate accommodations in all legal proceedings is provided properly for the persons with disabilities. Article 29. Participation in political and public life.
Miss K arrives at the National Assembly with excitement. Today is her first day of work at Yoido. The first day of work of Miss K was more meaningful because she went to work with her guide dog Jay, who is always by her side. Jay is the first animal allowed to access inside the National Assembly. In fact, she is not the first member of the National Assembly who has a visual disability. In the past, guide dogs were not allowed to enter due to security reasons. However, their entrance is now allowed for the first time, as it is acknowledged that guide dogs are essential for the political activities of Miss K. The changed National Assembly is striving to provide appropriate support to aid the activities of Miss K and her guide dog Jay, such as creating a waiting room for Jay inside the National Assembly. Guide dogs are the eyes and partner of the persons with visual disabilities. We are looking forward to the activities of Miss K and her guide dog in the National Assembly.
A guide dog entering the National Assembly for the first time was a great news. If only there were proper understanding for guide dogs of persons with visual disabilities, the entrance of guide dogs would have been allowed much more earlier. I believe that through this case, our society was able to think more deeply about the participation of persons with disabilities in public life. Like this, we have to guarantee the political rights and opportunity to enjoy their rights as persons with disabilities as equally to others. The UN CRPD has Article 29, Participation in Political and Public Life. What is it about? States parties shall guarantee to persons with disabilities political rights and the opportunity to enjoy them on an equal basis with others. Specifically, it should be ensured that persons with disabilities can effectively and fully participate in political and public life, including the right and opportunity for persons with disabilities to vote and be elected. We must promote an environment in which persons with disabilities can effectively and completely participate in the conduct of public affairs on an equal basis with others.
I see. However, wouldn't it be required to ensure accessibility for persons with disabilities to carry out their public affairs without discrimination?
Yes, you're right. In order for them to participate in political and public life on an equal basis with others, the facilities, materials, and environment must be ensured. The accessibility of persons with disabilities must be strengthened in all political activities, such as voting. And personal assistance services for persons with disabilities must be provided by a person in a trust relationship, in the case where the person with disabilities requests assistance services. Recently, to strengthen the accessibility of persons with disabilities for all political activities, such as voting, technologies to vote by secret ballot easily and safely are being introduced. And various policies are being improved for smooth participation in politics. When broadcasting the meetings of standing committee and legislative activities, providing sign language, closed captions, and screen narrations are soon to be made mandatory. A world where everyone can participate in politics and public affairs. We should keep on working towards creating such a world, right? Let's solve a quiz. In order for persons with disabilities to effectively and fully participate in political and public life, it is required to ensure blank, such as guaranteeing facilities, materials, and assistance. What is the answer for the blank? A. Accessibility. B. Safety. What is your answer? The answer is accessibility. The right to be equal legally and politically. Let's summarize these rights again. Article 5. Equality and non-discrimination. Persons with disabilities are entitled, without any discrimination, to the equal protection and equal benefit of the law. Article 12. Equal recognition before the law. Persons with disabilities have the right to recognition everywhere, as persons before the law. Article 13. Access to justice. Persons with disabilities have the right to have access to all legal proceedings. Article 29. Participation in political and public life. Persons with disabilities have the right to participate in political and public life on an equal basis with others.